A man lived for 40 years with a traffic cone in his lung. A top British spy was found zipped inside a duffel bag, locked from the outside. And a teenager's desperate 911 calls were ignored until it was too late. These aren't urban legends, they're real stories, and they'll make you question everything you think you know about the world. Truth doesn't always play by the rules. In fact, sometimes it's so bizarre, so unsettling, that it feels like the plot of a movie, except it really happened. In this episode, we dive into 3 jaw-dropping real-life mysteries involving medical oddities, secret intelligence, and system failure at its worst. You'll laugh, you'll get chills, and by the end, you'll be asking yourself, how can something so unbelievable be true? Paul Baxter, the 40-year-old forgotten traffic cone. Paul Baxter's story begins with a simple, seemingly harmless cough. At 46 years old, Paul had been experiencing persistent chest discomfort, accompanied by a dry, uncontrollable cough that made it nearly impossible for him to speak without breaking into fits of wheezing. Initially, he brushed it off, assuming it was just another seasonal cold. But as the days turned into weeks, and his symptoms only worsened, Paul realized something wasn't right. His usual remedy of over-the-counter medications wasn't helping, and his condition grew more alarming. He could hardly catch his breath, let alone lead a normal life. Finally, Paul decided to seek medical help. He visited his family doctor, who immediately diagnosed him with pneumonia, a diagnosis that seemed fitting, considering the severity of his symptoms. The treatment began right away, but after months of antibiotics and inhalers, there was no sign of improvement. The doctor, growing increasingly concerned, referred Paul to a respiratory specialist. At this point, Paul was feeling desperate. His lungs felt heavy, his energy drained, and his once simple life seemed to be unraveling. At the respiratory clinic, the specialists decided to perform a chest X-ray. It was a routine procedure that they believed would reveal the cause of Paul's ongoing symptoms. But when the X-ray images were displayed on the screen, the technicians paused. A suspicious shadow appeared in the lower right section of Paul's lung. This wasn't a typical case of pneumonia, nor was it any common infection. The doctor suggested a more in-depth investigation, a bronchoscopy. During the procedure, which Paul bravely chose to stay awake for, the doctor inserted a thin tube with a camera into Paul's airways to get a better look. The camera revealed a dark, foreign mass lodged in his lung, something that didn't belong there at all. As the doctor zoomed in, a startling detail became clear. A small orange object was sticking out of the lump, its shape unmistakably familiar. It was a traffic cone. A tiny, plastic orange traffic cone from a child's toy set, the kind that you might find in a play kitchen or on a toy construction site. The doctor, astonished, tried to remove the object using tiny pincers at the end of the probe. But it didn't budge. After some careful attempts to move the surrounding tissue and get a better grip, the doctor realized that the cone had been lodged deep inside Paul's lung, so deep that even specialized tools couldn't easily dislodge it. In a stunned voice, the doctor told Paul, "I'm not sure what this is, but it's not supposed to be in there." Over the next few days, Paul returned to the clinic for a follow-up procedure, this time with a stronger probe to attempt to remove the object once and for all. The air in the room was thick with anticipation. The camera again showed the orange cone, and as it slowly came out of Paul's lung, the gravity of the situation hit him. For years, he had wondered why he had been coughing, why his body had felt off. But it wasn't until this moment that he realized what had happened all those years ago. At 7 years old, Paul had accidentally inhaled a toy traffic cone. It wasn't something he remembered clearly, but the sensation of something being lodged in his throat all those years ago now made sense. What he had thought was a swallowing mishap had, in fact, been an inhalation. The toy had been stuck in his lung for over 40 years without ever causing a problem, until that cough, until it finally decided to make itself known. The room fell silent for a moment. The doctors were dumbfounded, unsure of how to react. It wasn't every day that a patient walked in with such a bizarre medical mystery. But then, as Paul explained his memory, the tension broke. The doctors couldn't help but laugh. It was an absurd situation, one they had never encountered before. And yet, here they were, witnessing an unbelievable moment of medical history. Paul, now holding his small plastic orange traffic cone, couldn't help but laugh as well. It was a surreal moment, one that felt like a weight lifted off his chest. After all these years, after all the pain and frustration, the mystery was finally solved. And as for Paul's symptoms, after the object was removed, his coughing stopped, his breathing became easier, and his life returned to normal. It's amazing how one small, forgotten object could wreak havoc for so many years. But sometimes, it takes something as strange as a toy from a child's playset to remind us how strange and mysterious life can be. And with that, Paul's medical mystery came to a close, but the questions it raised lingered in the air. What else could be hiding inside us, waiting to be discovered? And now, as we move from this strange medical marvel, we turn our attention to another tale, one of intrigue and espionage, that reveals just how mysterious life can be when intelligence is involved. Gareth Williams, the mysterious death of a British codebreaker. Gareth Williams was a brilliant mathematician from Anglesey, Wales, whose exceptional intellect set him apart from an early age. By 17, he had earned a first-class degree in mathematics from Bangor University, impressing his professors with his analytical prowess. His academic excellence led to a position at the Government Communications Headquarters, GCHQ, the UK's Signals Intelligence Agency, where he quickly distinguished himself in cryptography. Williams's expertise in codebreaking was further honed during his tenure at GCHQ, contributing to various high-profile intelligence operations. In 2009, he was seconded to MI6, the Secret Intelligence Service, to assist in counterterrorism efforts, including tracking laundered money and data extraction from electronic devices. His work often involved collaboration with the National Security Agency, NSA, in the United States, reflecting the high level of trust and responsibility placed upon him. However, Williams's promising career took a tragic turn. On August 23, 2010, his lifeless body was discovered in his London apartment, inside a red North Face duffel bag that was padlocked shut. The bag was found in the bathtub, and the apartment showed no signs of forced entry or struggle, leading to widespread speculation about the circumstances of his death. Initial investigations suggested the possibility of suicide or a tragic accident. However, the peculiar nature of the scene prompted further scrutiny. Theories surrounding Williams's death have ranged from espionage-related motives to personal issues. One theory posits that Russian intelligence agents may have been involved, possibly due to Williams's refusal to cooperate as a double agent. A KGB defector claimed that Williams had knowledge of a Russian spy within GCHQ, which could have made him a target. Another theory suggests that Williams's death was linked to his personal interests. Investigators found items in his apartment that led to speculation about his private life. However, the coroner's inquest concluded that while the exact cause of death could not be definitively determined, it was likely a result of a premeditated criminal act, with no evidence to support claims of suicide or accidental death. The inquest also criticized MI6 for its handling of the investigation, noting delays in providing evidence and access to Williams's colleagues. The case remains one of the most perplexing mysteries in recent British intelligence history. Despite extensive investigations and numerous theories, the truth behind Gareth Williams's death remains elusive. The unusual circumstances of his demise have sparked ongoing debates about the transparency and accountability of intelligence agencies, as well as the lengths to which they might go to protect their secrets. As new information continues to emerge, the enigma of Gareth Williams's death serves as a haunting reminder of the complexities and dangers inherent in the world of espionage. Kyle Plush, a tragic death and missed 911 calls. Kyle Plush's life, marked by resilience and determination, was tragically cut short under deeply mysterious circumstances. At 16, Kyle was a high-achieving student at Seven Hills High School in Cincinnati, Ohio. Despite his struggles with a spinal injury, which limited his mobility and required him to use a wheelchair, Kyle was an active and engaged individual. He had a passion for baseball and was a devoted fan of his favorite teams. His family described him as someone with a strong will, always eager to prove that his disability would never define his potential. On the day of his tragic death, Kyle had gone to school early for a routine event. However, something went terribly wrong when he decided to leave the school grounds in his minivan. After being trapped in the vehicle due to a malfunctioning third-row seat, Kyle found himself stuck in a position where he could not move or free himself. Desperate, he called 911 3 times, but each time, his calls went unanswered or were misunderstood. The dispatcher failed to comprehend his critical situation, and as a result, no immediate action was taken to locate him. In the first 911 call, Kyle, struggling to breathe and clearly panicked, managed to convey that he was trapped in his van. His voice, though faint, pleaded for help. He tried again and again, but each time, the dispatcher misinterpreted his distress. The dispatcher had difficulty understanding his words, even though it was clear that Kyle was in a life-threatening situation. One of the critical moments occurred when Kyle desperately attempted to explain his position. Yet, due to the dispatcher's misunderstanding, the police failed to act promptly. As the minutes turned into hours, Kyle's distress escalated. It was a heartbreaking situation. His 911 calls, which could have saved his life, fell on deaf ears. The delayed response from the police and emergency services further compounded the tragedy. Despite being in an area where his van was parked not far from the school, the authorities failed to locate him in time. The scene of his death was tragic. Kyle was eventually found dead in his vehicle, a few hours after the call for help was made. His family was devastated by the loss of their son, and they couldn't believe that something so preventable had taken place. Kyle's parents, distraught and seeking justice, filed a wrongful death lawsuit, alleging negligence on the part of the dispatcher and police. The legal battle aimed to shed light on the failures of the emergency response system and to hold those responsible accountable for the lack of urgency in such a critical situation. The aftermath of Kyle's death stirred public outcry and prompted investigations into how 911 call centers handle distress calls. The lawsuit revealed disturbing details about how such systems can fail in times of need. It was clear that the lack of action not only robbed Kyle of his life but also left his family grappling with unanswerable questions. How could a 16-year-old, trapped and struggling to survive, be ignored by those entrusted to protect him? The case also raised questions about accountability within the police force and the emergency response system. While the wrongful death lawsuit against the authorities received significant attention, the emotional toll on Kyle's family was immeasurable. The legal proceedings, though important, were nothing compared to the grief and devastation of losing a child under such preventable circumstances. This tragic event is a stark reminder of the vital importance of prompt and accurate responses to emergency situations. Kyle Plush's story continues to reverberate as a call for better training, more efficient communication systems, and more compassionate responses from those in charge of handling distress calls. Despite the legal battles, the question remains, how many more lives are at risk due to failures in the emergency response system? The emotional impact on Kyle's family is immense, and they continue to advocate for changes to ensure that no other family has to suffer such a loss. Kyle's death was not just a tragedy, it was a failure of the very systems that are meant to protect people in their most vulnerable moments. The case remains a crucial point of reflection on the responsibility we place on emergency services to respond with the urgency that lives demand. As the case unfolds, it serves as a testament to the need for reform, transparency, and justice in the face of such heart-wrenching circumstances. As we reflect on the strange, unexplainable events shared throughout this piece, one thing becomes clear: life is often more unpredictable than we might want to believe. Each of the stories we've explored, Paul Baxter's accidental discovery of a traffic cone in his lung, the mysterious death of Gareth Williams, and the tragic fate of Kyle Plush, reminds us of the mysteries that lurk in the corners of our everyday lives. These are events that defy logic, that leave us with more questions than answers, and that remind us how fragile our understanding of the world can be. The common thread among these stories is the unpredictability of life, the strange occurrences that challenge our perception of reality. It's easy to assume we know how the world works, to believe that the answers to everything are already out there waiting for us to uncover. But sometimes, reality has a way of throwing us curveballs that we never saw coming, leaving us grappling with the unknown. Whether it's the mystery of an object that defies explanation, the untimely death of a brilliant mind, or a desperate cry for help left unanswered, These stories show us that life's complexity is far beyond what we can control or predict. In each of these cases, there is a deeper lesson to be learned. For one, the need for curiosity. Curiosity pushes us to ask questions, to probe deeper when the surface doesn't tell the full story. Without that innate drive to understand the mysteries around us, we risk missing the truth hidden in the most unexpected places. It's the desire to know more, to search for explanations, that helps us make sense of the world, even if, at times, the answers are elusive. It's also a call for reflection. These stories challenge us to think about our own lives, our own experiences with the unknown, and how we react when confronted with situations that don't fit into our neatly constructed narratives. Have we ever been in a situation where things didn't go as planned, where we were left feeling helpless or without answers? The emotions stirred by these stories, curiosity, confusion, empathy, and even frustration, are emotions we can all relate to in some way. Perhaps, like Paul Baxter or Gareth Williams, we've faced a mystery that changed the course of our lives in ways we didn't expect. Or maybe, like Kyle Plush, we've been in a situation where help didn't come in time. Now, as we close, we turn to you, the reader. What do you think of these strange events? Have you ever encountered a mystery that left you questioning everything you thought you knew? Share your thoughts with us. Your reflections, your stories, could be the key to understanding more about life's unpredictable nature. We may never fully unravel all the mysteries life throws our way, but in the quest for answers, we discover the strength to keep asking questions, to keep searching, and to keep growing.